So here we go starting. First thing I'm gonna do is weigh out all my grain. So I just got a bucket that I fill it in. Got my little scale. And then I've got my specialty grains here. So I've got Maris Otter, Golden Promise, and 2-row for my base. And then I've got all my specialty grains here. And then down in these, all my crystal malts and whatnot. And in the meantime, I've got my strike water ready. So I'll get that up to temperature while I'm measuring out the grains, and we'll go from there. So now that I've got all my grain weighed out, I've got 23 pounds of Maris Otter, 12 ounces of roasted barley, 12 ounces of Crystal 120, and 12 ounces of Crystal 40. I'm gonna make an Irish red ale today. So I've got that, and then I'll put it in my mill and crush it. And I will show you what the crush looks like after I get it all milled up. Oh, and in the meantime, I've got my strike water heating up. So we are at, about 143, or actually no, 148. So I've got to get that to 172 because my mash tun is at 62 degrees and the grain is at 62 degrees. So when I put it in there, hopefully my mash temp will be right at 153, which is what I'm aiming for. So, all right, we'll see you on the next step. Okay, so I got some crushed. I still got a little bit left, but you can look and see how the crush comes out on it. It's actually pretty good. So if you don't have a grain mill, this Monster Mill MM3 is a beast. I'll just put my camera over here so you can see it, how fast that it crushes. So I'll get this done. We'll be on to the next step. Okay, so we got her plugged in. Got to make sure the valves are oriented right. So we've got the flow from this one coming up, going over, up into the mash tun. So we will kick the pump on. Okay. Open the valve up. Thermal pin, starting to climb quick. And then we'll just watch to make sure we got 2 gallons left, and that way we know we've got 8 gallons going in. So once that transfers in, I'll mash the grain in, and we will be set. So we got all of our grain in. Just kind of mixing it up to make sure we don't get any dough balls. Sure smells good. Kind of give you an idea of what the color of the head will be when it's all done and fermented. But right at 153 where we want it, so I'll cover it up and let it sit for an hour. Okay, so now I've got my strike water, or my sparge water almost up to temp. I want to get to about 169, 170. So in the meantime, mash is complete, and I'm just recirculating to set the grain bed and clear the wort up. You can see that nice color. So I'll recirculate this for about 10 minutes. Once the mash water reaches 170, then I'll start to extract all the sugar and the wort and transfer it from the mash tun down through the pump up into the hot liquor, or into my boil kettle. So That'll be the next step. I'll show you that here in a minute. Okay, so now we're sparging. We're taking the hot water out of the hot liquor tank, going down through the pump, up to the top, and trickling the grain bed with 170-degree water at the same rate that we are sucking out the wort down through the pump and back up into the boil kettle. So it looks like this. You want to keep about an inch or two of water above the grain, and then into the boil kettle. So the rate is coming out at about the same as what's going into the mash tun. So I'll do that until we get our boil volume, which should be about 12 and a half gallons. And then we will start the boil. It's my little brew pup waiting for some grain. So one thing I did too, my other glycol chiller Spike Brewing conical is being used right now, so I really like these for a cheaper option. The Spidels, they work great. So I had some other parts laying around, so I put the triclover fittings on there. That way I can, after I pump my wort in through there, I can pull that fitting off, put my aeration stone on there and aerate it that way, and then just it's a lot easier for me to transfer and everything else. And then I also put a blow off on the top, and that way I can put my other valve on the top and pressurize this so I can do a closed transfer when I'm going to keg. So got the boil kettle filled up, got to 13 gallons. And we are sitting at 186, 188. So usually boil here is right around like 205. So I do that. I'll add an ounce of Warrior, get my bittering hops in, and do a 60-minute boil. And then I'll show you my process from there, how to cool it down and how I transfer it into my fermenter. But I got my mash tun all cleaned out. Got my screens drying. So it comes with this screen here, but the holes on it are fairly large, and instead of worrying about getting a stuck sparge, which I kind of almost had when I first used it, I bought this little micron mesh screen, and I cut that to fit right in the bottom, and then the bigger screen goes over the top, just to ensure that I'm not going to get a stuck mash. So it works pretty sweet. So we're at a boil. So now I'm going to add my 1 ounce of Warrior hops. Slowly, because it always... Alright, so we got the hops in, and we've got a boil. So we'll boil this for an hour, but at 15 minutes we'll put Werflock in it to clarify it up. And then I'll show you how I cool it down. Okay, so now I'm done with my boil. Got the Werflock in, doing a whirlpool. Been doing that for a little bit, creating a cone in the bottom of the boil kettle. So now I'm going to turn that off, transfer the wort down through my chiller, and then into the fermenter. And then I will have the fermenter full, and then I'm going to put on my oxygenation stone. Instead of the ball valve, I'll pull that off, put this on, and then I'll hit it with my oxygen tank, pitch the yeast, and we'll be good to go. So now it's coming out, it's going down through the chiller, and we're coming in a little bit too hot, so we'll close this valve down. And I like to try to keep it right around 70. Groundwater is pretty cold right now. So there we go. Looks like she's about 70. So we'll just keep pumping her in. And as you can see, I'm already starting to get it filled up. Excuse the mess. I'm cleaning out my tap handles and replacing the lines. And as you can see, my other fermenter, we've got some vigorous fermentation going on. And this is about 24 hours later.
Time into something that you love, something you have a passion for. That's motivation. I'm motivated.